This is Weights and Wealth, your one-stop shop for entertaining education on building a stronger body and bank account.
We are not doctors or financial advisors and must warn you this is not medical or investing advice. It is for your entertainment. Welcome back to Weights and Wealth. Today we have Rafael on, who will be talking a little bit about training executives and social media as well. Mm-hmm. So would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, Rafael?
Yes, my name is Rafael. Thanks for having me here today. Very excited. Mm-hmm. From Brazil originally, born and raised. Moved to England when I was after college to train Air Force pararescue. As a strength coach, and did that for a few years. Found my way into the US, got transferred here, and I've been coaching for over 20 years now, and have done a bunch of stuff training wise, and now I'm more focused on training execs for the last several years. So that's the path I'm on right now. So I'm very excited.
Awesome.
You guys.
All right, we're going to have Rafael do the shout out and the weights wisdom for this week's episode.
Okay, the shout out goes to Eric Bugera, my coach from Prescript. Love him. He's a great guy. He's been keeping me on check for the last few years as I transitioned from Olympic weightlifting to hypertrophy training. So yes, he's a great guy. The wisdom is earned strength. That's what I tell the execs that I work with. You know, they have the money to buy anything they want, but strength, they have to earn it. So there you have it.
Yeah. That's great.
Sweat equity. Yeah. I'm kind of curious with that, right? So like you went to school in Brazil, right? Yep. Got certified there. So then you go to England. Like, how does that happen? You know, because that's going across the world.
Yes. So I went to school for international business. Okay. So that's what I studied. But in Brazil, you have to speak English in order to be able to graduate.
Interesting.
So I finished the degree, and then the only pending stuff was the language skill. So I took some English classes in Brazil growing up, but it's not the same. So I moved to England to study English, and which I did. Got there, realized that doesn't matter how many hours of English class you take in your country. Once you go to a place and you have to speak, and you know nothing. So that was a very, very interesting process. So went to school. Eventually, it's just very funny story how I ended up in America. I was in Edinburgh for a New Year's Eve party with a bunch of friends of mine from Australia and New Zealand. And it was raining. It was cold. All the pubs were full. But we knew a friend of ours that lived in Edinburgh, and she was working at the pub. So we had a place to go during this festival, which is one of the biggest one in Europe for New Year's Eve. So I shout out to one of the guys in the group, pub, which was the code to go to our pub. And then this bunch of American guys were standing right in front of me, and they looked at me like, pub? I'm like, yeah, pub. And then the guy, can I go to the pub with you? I'm like, yeah, you can. So he screamed pub to his friends, and before I knew, it was like 50 people. And I was like, holy shit, what is happening over here? So we went to the pub, they all came with us. And then we got them in, and they were so happy, grateful, to be there. And some of those guys are pararescue people. Then you build a bond, became friends, and then there among this group was one of the main strength conditioning coach for the group. So I became very good friends with him. At the time, they needed someone with experience in cardiovascular training. And I played soccer in Brazil professionally at youth level. Oh, nice. So I did that growing up, the age of 12 all the way up to 18. At that time in Brazil, you either good to go pro or you go to college. So I was the second group. I was good, but not that good. And then I had the experience. And then they needed a little bit of help with one of the team members that they had that needed to lose a lot of muscle mass to fit into his jumping gear. And then that's why I came into play. It's like, I have an interest in doing this. I have a little bit of a background experience of cardiovascular training. And then I went to get certified. So my mentor, who went from Indiana, big Notre Dame fan. So he was kind of my mentor, pushing me, direct me what the certification I should be taking, what kind of studies I should be doing in order to be an asset for them. And I went down the path. I studied at the time. I did the ACSM test because at the time was the best test that you could do. So put the time into it, came to America to do the test. I flew over here, do the test, went back. So it was a long process before I got into the health and fitness, being a real coach. Yeah. And then that was the process. So I got the job, was very happy. So started working for them, for the Air Force, and for a couple of years, almost 2 years. And then they sent me to America. So they wanted me to transfer over here to the United States. And it was at the time that my mentor, Bryn Jaffrey, also was living. So he came to DC. Okay. His wife was OSI agent. So they came here. I went to North Carolina. And then shortly after that, I went private. Start to work with the very beginning. It was really very funny too, because the very beginning of my training career, I was a skinny little guy. So if you sometimes I post a picture of myself on social media, I had no muscle, very tiny. And early 2000, when I was becoming a trainer, was during the same time that CrossFit was becoming a thing. Okay. And then that was my first experience with lifting. First was a little bit of bodybuilding, and shortly after that, like a year after that, CrossFit was a thing in the military adopted. Early 2000, a lot of people doing big time. But it's funny because I did it and I hate it. At the very beginning, I was like, okay, this sucks. But at the same time, I was like, I love the Olympic lifting aspect of it. But I wasn't a very good trainer back then. And I'm still learning to this day, but I knew that I was like, okay, this seems too complex for me to slap a 400-meter run around the block and then come back and do, a few more.
Do power cleans.
Power clean. So anyhow, I shifted to weightlifting, very early. I was like, I need to learn weightlifting. And that's the path I took. And then, learned the sport, ended up moving to America. And at that time, I was training execs. So I was working for a very posh gym in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I did that for a few years there. And then still honing my skill on Olympic weightlifting. And then Bryn Jaffrey, he wanted to move back to Indianapolis. So with the family. And then at that time, he mentioned, why don't you move to DC, take over my clientele? And then you can be here, because I wanted to live in a bigger city, because living in Greensboro was kind of a shock for me, going from London to a small town.
Not that many Brazilians in Greensboro either.
It's funny, there were some. But it was just a little bit different.
You're kind of just out in the middle of nowhere.
I would probably do better today than I did back then, just because it was like, hey, what is traffic? What is the noise? I miss that. So, and then he left. I came over. And I took over his clientele, and then, he took off from there. I was working the gym downtown DC, and then competing in Olympic weightlifting. I did that for several years, competed at the national level. And I started to build that bond with execs, when I moved to DC, because the gym where I worked was downtown. And attract a lot of the high power people that live in Washington, DC. And that's how it all started, And then I saw a niche. I was like, this is what I should be concentrating on,
high ROI probably.
So that's a little bit of my story, in a nutshell,
Super interesting. So, when I'm not super familiar with the personal trainer world, but is it seemed to me it seems like a huge deal that your mentor just handed you this whole client base. That's awesome. Because I would assume back then probably online training wasn't as big of a deal.
No.
Or as big of a thing. So that guy, like you said, fantastic dude. He was like, here's the base, and now you're good to go, and gave you all those connections. That's quite a man.
Yeah, he was good. We're still good friends to this day. We were very close. We talk every day. It was great. It was a good foundation, and he's a good person. So he likes helping a lot of people. So he was very instrumental to where I am today. I wouldn't be anywhere today if it wasn't for him. If it wasn't the encounter, meeting people on the streets of Edinburgh, everybody's drunk, we're yelling, screaming, I won't be here. So it's funny, like when people talk like, well, how did you meet your wife? Or like, do you want the full story? Or how it transpired for me to be here? And he introduced me to her. That's the funny thing.
Oh, wow.
So he used to train her. And then I moved here, and then she was single, and apparently he used to joke with her, like, oh, you should go out with Rafa. People call me Rafa, by the way. So instead of Rafael. And then she was like, oh, whatever. So she didn't even know where I was yet, right? So I moved in and got to meet her, and I was training her, and then we were very good friends. And then eventually someone asked her, are you guys dating? Like, no, we're not. And then someone like, oh, maybe you should. You guys get along well. And then we started dating. It was funny. But so Bring was instrumental in helping me and guiding me throughout this entire process. Always telling me, pay attention to your surroundings, be good with customers. I had a good mentor even in my house. My mom is in sales. So I always saw her how well she connected with her clientele, So that was a lesson for me growing up. My mom knew every single detail about her clients. And I know every single detail about my clients. I know everything about them. I know where the kids go to school. I know what drives them, what topics they wanted to talk about. And that was an eye-opening moving to Washington, D.C. because you see how the world functions a little bit better, because when you are in a small town like I was, or even when you are at Mildenhall Air Force Base in England, the environment is different, right? And then when you change to high earners, you have to keep up with it. And I found out that whenever they would talk about about some topic that I had no idea, I would feel embarrassed, and then I started reading more. So it was really good influence on me, on my development, not just as a coach, but also as a person. Even going back to school, I went back to school several years ago, because everybody would speak to in the DC metro area. I went to this school, I had a master's degree. I was like, oh shit, maybe we should go back to school.
No, I completely sympathize with that. Like I had a similar experience, like in college. Like I spent my freshman year at Dayton, and I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but like I was doing really well. Like I had a 3.9, and I was involved in a billion different things, and I was kind of like, I don't really feel like I'm trying. And I met Ted and Nick there, who are fantastic guys, but like I wouldn't say that they're like the norm at Dayton, like you guys are certainly outliers. And I think it's kind of similar to what you experienced, where it's like you go around these like high powered people, and like you're like, oh shoot, like I need to step my game up. I need to improve now. And I noticed that when I transferred into Notre Dame, it was a complete shock. I went from like being able to go out like 4 or 5 nights a week. I could go to the gym for 2 hours a day. And when I got to Notre Dame for my first year there, like I was in the library 6 nights a week instead of, going out. Like I could go out maybe once a week if I was lucky. And so like I had to really, like kind of lock in and like improve myself a lot to get to the level where I needed to be on par, And so I think what you were saying about, just surrounding yourself with high-powered people will improve you, Like they say, it's like you're like the average of your 5 closest friends, essentially, It's 100%.
Yeah, I think there was several years ago, I was watching an interview, what is the... Donovan Sue, I think he was the
Donovan Sue,
Yes, I'm off with him.
D-tackle.
Yes, so he was given an interview saying why he went to play in LA. I think it was LA Rams, right? He went to play there for less money than other teams would pay him. And then apparently he has a bond with Warren Buffett because he went to Nebraska, right? He played college ball in Nebraska, right? And I can't remember what the terminology was, but Warren Buffett told him that it's not always about money. He was earning less to be in San Francisco, in LA area, but he was getting a net worth access to people. So that's what he was saying. He used a specific terminology that I'm not remembering, but it was pretty much it. He was like, it doesn't matter if you could go to Ohio and they're gonna pay you more money, but you're not going to get access
to these people.
Yeah, he'd been in Detroit most of his career.
Yes, and then he went to LA, made less money, but he surrounded himself with a set of people that he would not have access had he gone to another city. You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty much that's how I see my career developed when I was working downtown Washington D.C. I mean, I trained people that were responsible for the whole lobbying department for Target. So you are around a lot of people and see how a lot of things work. They share things with you. They talk to you about things, and you just grab onto it. And then you try to better yourself. Okay, I need to be a little bit more conscious about what's happening outside the America,
become
around
more
the world.
educated on things.
Become more educated on things because I felt like there was something that really helped me connect with them. It's something that every now and then they would praise me. They're like, "Oh, it's so nice to come talk to you. You know a lot about the world." But I didn't know that they were influencing me, because if I had not spent the time to be around them, I would probably just whatever. I really feel they need to become better. So it's good, and it gives the whole view of what is possible. Like even with my training, like a lot of what I do now with them is I focus a lot on corporate wellness. Work with a company right now is slowly integrate wellness into their workplace for them. So I was in Orlando a couple of weeks ago, talking for over 1,000 people, execs talking about wellness, how to incorporate that into the daily life, because those guys, they'll put on the back burner. Yeah. Because it's one of the things too, when you talk about social media, people are talking about, oh, don't look at your phone before you go to bed. It's bad for you. But but when you're dealing with someone who is making several $1 million a year and responsible for a multi-billion-dollar company, it's not gonna fly.
Yeah, they're gonna be looking at their phone.
They're gonna be looking at the phone. They're gonna wake up at 5 a.m. First thing they're gonna do is grab their phone and look at it. You respond to emails. So I had to learn how to adapt the message to fit their reality.
Yeah, we've talked a lot on the show about like meeting people where they're at, as far as when you're on the weight side of the program, like the personal training department. You got to meet people where they're at when you're helping them with their nutrition or their lifting or their behaviors. So that's really cool that like the normal advice that you would give people as a trainer with this population that you're working with now doesn't really apply. So you have to figure out other behaviors that you can tweak to help get them results and help improve their lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely.
The conference you went to in Atlanta, was that your first time presenting to a large group like that?
Yeah, so I have done a lot of presentations for the same organization, but it's a lot smaller groups, with like 25, 100 people, in a Zoom call scenario. But this time they're trying to push wellness even more for the younger generation of workers that will be in a position of VPs, leading the company for the next several years. Their young generation, people in their early 30s, early 40s, late 30s, they are very conscious about wellness, and they wanted to integrate. So that's something that they've been asking leadership to implement. And then they had this event where they wanted to get the program kickstarted, the wellness program. So I helped them kind of design a challenge, kind of design a program for those first 1,000 workers, how they would approach the training program. It's all based on hotel training, right? So I designed a training session using cables, dumbbells, and a bench, what they can do. And the message here for them was really just building the consistency that they don't have right now. It's not about looking better naked, it's not about looking ready for the summer. They all want that. Yeah, they all want that, but they don't have the time to do it. They just don't. So if they can go to the gym just for 30 minutes, it's a win for them. And a lot of the times what I found when I speak to those large groups is that I think people underestimate the damage that some social media people or influencers are doing. Because when I went to talk, then we had several breakout rooms where I made myself available to talk to smaller groups of people. The questions you get frightening.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like
what?
Yeah, let's get some examples.
Still to this day, 2025, I heard protein is bad for you. I heard that it's only for people that work out. So yes, we're talking about highly intelligent people that went to Ivy League schools, people that went to great schools, people that are very smart, that they have master's degree and MBAs, but yet have zero knowledge about nutrition and health, and they rely getting information from social media clips, just like we do, on the internet, whatever it is. So that's one of those two questions. I have heard. Then I had a question. One person tell me that they can see results, but they've been training, every day. Like backtrack that you can train every day. But being very consistent. You're talking about being consistent. Like, yeah, I do, but now you're training too much, right? Yeah. And then, so all those little mistakes that they make that you don't realize that they've been getting this information from social media. Even talking about, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Blue Zone, the documentary.
Yes, we actually did a whole episode on some of the mistakes. With
the mistakes, right? So that's what I was trying to bring to the attention. Like, you guys don't have time to go back and look at the mistakes and then ask, do you know the mistakes? And they didn't know, and then explain to them. So there is all those things that they will see on TV, they'll see on social media, they'll see on the web, but they don't have time to verify it. They don't verify. They take it for face value and they run with it.
Yeah, and on social media, especially when they're looking at different accounts, they see someone that looks really good, that looks how they want to look in their physique, and they just assume, okay, that's the right thing for me. Yeah. And so then there's this dude on steroids that's training 6-7 days a week with a lot of volume and a lot of intensity, and they assume they can do the same. I've had this before in gyms where someone comes in, I offer them a free session, ask what they're doing, and like this one guy gave me this program that he was following from an influencer that was 6 days a week and had minimum 12 exercises each day. And I was like, dude, this is such an incredible amount of volume. Like, if I was to start training you, I would put you at like 3 or 4 days a week. And like, he was a beginner too. It's like, we would do 3 or 4 days a week with like 6 exercises a day, focusing on compound lifts. Like, it would look radically different. This is way too much volume. There's no way you can recover from this. Like, if you did see a little bit of results in the beginning, it's because there was some sort of stimulus, but like, this is way overkill for you.
Yeah, and they'll follow that, with the execs, I think the number one pattern that I see with them is the love for cardio. Because when you only have half an hour, they will default to cardio. And that's why I said a few minutes ago that when I designed a program for 1,000 people, I did a 30-minute training session, lifting session, because I told them, if you have 30 minutes, I need you to lift. I don't need you to do more cardio, and I don't need you to do more HIIT training, because that's what they default to. HIIT in some sort of cardio training, because they believe that if they don't have an hour, if they don't have 90 minutes to lift, it's worthless going to the gym for only 30 minutes of a lifting session. So they don't make that priority. They won't do that. So the whole work that I have doing with them, specifically this group, is explaining to them and showing to them that the 30-minute lifting session will bring results, will help them move better, will help them address some of the pains that they have. They all have low back pain because they sit so long. So will help them feel like more energetic. They complain to me, I don't have any energy. And I say, you don't have energy because you don't train. That's why you don't have energy.
We have a book club on the podcast where every once in a while we'll just do an episode solely on one book. And the last book club episode we did was Good Energy by Casey Means. I'm not sure you heard of it? Okay, yeah. So in that book, one of the things that I learned was the number one cause for primary care doctor visit in America is fatigue. And so especially with executives that are probably burnt out and everything with just the amount of work they're doing and the hours and just being sedentary and looking at a computer and stuff like that. The biggest bang for your buck on trying to reverse that is trying to get your cells more energy through lifting and eating more protein, and trying to heal that metabolism. So working with executives, do you focus mainly on their metabolism? It sounds like kind of that with the lifting over the cardio. And what are some of the things that you typically guide them through to help improve their metabolism?
The first thing we address is protein. And I emphasize with them the quantity will matter more than quality. Yeah, and I tell them, I don't care if you're eating beef jerky, and I even tell them sometimes, I don't care if your beef jerky has 10 grams of protein, 6 grams of fat. I don't care. Get it, just because they don't eat enough.
Yeah.
They don't. So they're vastly underfed. Vastly. So protein is the first thing. So then I will tell them, get protein shakes, get Core Power, Fairlife. I don't care what it is. Get a bag, water from Amazon, have it in the office. And that's the first line of address. Protein. Then from there, once I know that they're eating protein more often, I teach them how to make a protein-packed overnight oats. So I put everybody on this damn thing because I tell them, get it, take to their work. Don't tell me don't have time to cook breakfast. This thing, you have 50 grams of protein, 45 grams of carbs, 20 or 17 grams of fiber, is good to go, first thing in the morning. So we go heavy on protein for the first month and a half until they start to realize that, I feel fuller. I don't feel like I want to eat a whole trail mix in the afternoon. So protein first. Once we get the protein down, then we will address fiber. And then I'll go hardcore on the fiber. And then I had a client, he's a big partner in a law firm. He made partner very young, brilliant guy, super smart, from South Carolina. And he was healthy, very healthy, but his blood work came to me and it was awful. So the doctor wanted to put him on the
TRT or something.
Statin, right?
Metformin.
And he's young, mid-30s. And I was like, okay, did your doctor ask you what your food habits are? Because I knew it. I already knew what it was. Like, oh no, he didn't talk about that. So this guy,
classic.
Even though he made room to lift 4 times a week, so I'll give him that. So giving credit to him, he made time to lift 4 times a week for an hour. Awesome. But he didn't address the nutrition. He's not heavy. He's not fit, blood work, look like and then we address with fiber. We need to address your protein now. We need to address your fiber now. So fast forward 60 days later, blood work came back normal. But that's where the disconnect in the fitness industry and the health industry is. Doctor never bothered to ask him what his habit was.
And even if the doctor does look at the blood work and knows what they're looking at, which I think is a common misconception. A lot of doctors really don't know how to read blood work.
And I have a story about that. Personal story.
All right, we'll go into that right next. But like the ranges that doctors are looking at that are given to them by these different agencies and boards, the ranges for normal are not what you would look for healthy blood work. Like there's a huge difference for almost every marker.
Between normal and healthy.
Between optimal and normal.
Because normal is 95%. It's like 2 standard deviations, I think, is considered normal. So so unless you're in that weird like 2.5% on each side, you are normal. So
this particular client was eating trail mix and cheese stick. So, and he was afraid of eating meat, and I was like, what? You're eating saturated fat all day long on a cheese stick. And then you're eating trail mix all day long, which is basically just crappy sugar. That was his diet. Literally. The office had bags of trail mix all over the place, and then I had to talk to him, and then you need to talk to the HR department. We need to, change this a little bit to the point of blood work that you're talking about, the disconnect, right? What is good, what is optimal, what is... I had my personal story is that I'm from Brazil. We eat a lot of fruit. We love fruit, easily available. So I still do that. Well, I was eating a lot of fruit at one point. And I was eating over 3,500 calories. And I was going a little bit hardcore on the fruit side just because I like it. Anyhow, do blood work. Blood work comes back and indicates that I have a non-alcoholic fatty liver. Not crazy, but just a little off. And then the doctor was kind enough. This was my 4th at this point at this clinic, this was my fourth physical for the year, not for the fourth year. So this doctor was kind enough, so I give her credit. She's like, hey, hold on a second. Your liver enzymes, alcoholic, no fatty alcoholic liver has been looking a little off for the last 4 years. Has any other doctor told you that? I was like, no. She was like, in the same clinic. And then she said, okay, let's do an ultrasound of your liver. Let's see what's happening there. And let's do some hepatite tests to see if you have anything. So we did. That came back negative. The scan did show that, was no alcoholic fatty liver, but, very minimal. And then, and I was like, oh, shoot, what am I doing wrong here? And then she was kind enough to ask about my nutrition habits. And like, well, I eat a lot of fruit, healthy carbs, a lot of protein. And she's like, oh, it does good. You drink alcohol? I was like, yeah, once every other week I'll have 3 servings. She's like, oh, that's, maybe cut that to nothing. And I was like, no, it can't be it. I was like, I'm doing something wrong that I need to pay attention to. Great. So I reached out to Dr. Jackson, the prescript, and I have done his course and everything. So I had a relationship with him. It was so funny because I schedule a call with him, send him my blood work and everything. The call starts, he looked at me, he asks, Rafael, like what? Do you eat honey? And I looked at him and I smiled, and he looked at me, you do, don't you? I was like, I eat honey every day. Like every day I have a full serving of honey on my workout morning shake. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll put it on my yogurt at night and I was like, do you like sweet that much? I was like, yeah, I love sweet. And he was like, he knew because it's cultural problem. He's like, you're from Brazil, are you eating a lot of fruit? I'm like, heck yes, I'm eating a lot of fruit. Yeah. And like, yeah, that's your problem. Like, cut it off, And then you forget sometimes. So when we open Chronometer, because we use the same app, and then he was like, let's count your sugar. But before you even tell me, I'll guarantee you that you're eating 200 grams of sugar per day. And I was like, there is no way. And sure enough, I opened Chronometer. Even though I was eating healthy, I was eating a lot of fruit, a lot of honey. Yeah. And that's the point he was trying to make, right? He was like, we forget sometimes that even though you're healthy, you're eating so much food, so much quantity of a few things that becomes a detrimental to your health.
Yeah, like fruit is good, and for most people, eating multiple servings of fruit is not going to be an issue.
100%.
Maybe not 4,000 calories.
Yes, that's what.
The problem is if you're eating like in excess of calories and you're taking in all that sugar, it's going to wind up elevating your triglycerides, and then that can lead to non-alcoholic fatty liver. The problem with your blood work and the doctors not saying anything is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease used to never really be an issue. It's very rare. Now 30 to 40% of Americans, I think, have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So if a doctor sees that, if they don't see any other issues, they might just be like, oh yeah, that's normal. Like, it's okay. It's not okay.
Yeah, it's not okay. Yeah. And that's what Dr. Jackson said exactly what he said. Fruit is fine, but when you're talking about bigger people that eat for performance, then becomes an issue. So everything becomes an issue because now you have to monitor what you're doing, because like my triglycerides, everything else was fine. Everything was off the charts, and that's what he was saying. He was like, it is the damn sugar from that you're getting from the fruits. But again, just because of the large quantities that you like to eat. And then we switch the diet, and sure enough, 60 days later, boom, everything is back to normal. So but that's the medical field. The trainers don't talk to PTs don't talk to orthopedic doctors and primary physicians, and then we find ourselves in this rat race where we're trying to help a patient, but he doesn't have a good baseline to try to sort out whatever issue they have with them, and it's a problem that needs to be corrected.
Where did you learn to read blood work? Was that through
I'm not great
Dwayne
at it. Yeah, I'm not great at it. Yeah. So a little bit that I learned was through Dr. Jackson. He did tell me, by the way, that he is developing a blood work course with prescript.
Oh, heck yeah.
So I'm putting pressure on him if he's listening to this. So hopefully there will, I don't know when it will come out.
We'll tag him in.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
So I'm not good at it, but having someone by your side who has the experience to look at those things makes a huge difference. You know, and that's the beauty of the fitness industry. You know, that's the beauty of, you know, like when I got involved with the prescript courses, have someone that you can talk to. Because a lot of the time during my career as a coach or even as a personal trainer working in the gym, you don't have that many people to talk to. You know, so the fitness industry right now is a fantastic time to be a coach. You know, there's so much information available, you know, right now that you can consume. I didn't have that when I started. You know, it wasn't there.
And like the online courses through like Prescript and NCI are the two best that I found for like continuing education. But the fact that coaches can now start to learn a lot about reading blood work through different courses they take, whether it's a holistic health kind of course, becoming a holistic health practitioner, or just taking other advanced nutrition courses, like that adds so much value to like for you as a trainer to your clients, because you can start to really hone in on, okay, based off these different markers, we're seeing inflammation or hormone issues and the different balances and blood sugar, and like with those different things you can start to really hone in on nutrition other than just, okay, here's your macros. Because I feel like in like early 2000s, 2010, 2015, like a lot of what trainers would do nutrition wise was just calories, macros, hit this, and it's like, okay, anyone can really figure that out really easily. The value of having a really good coach that can help you through blood work and stuff is that they can start to hone in on these different really specific issues with exactly what you're eating.
Definitely. And that is very, 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 very important, because you can make a leap of being just healthy to optimal health. With the XX, they're chasing that all the time, but they also chasing that without wanting to do the minimal work, the low-hanging fruit. You know? And that's the battle that I have with them. You know, is I know you have the money to buy whatever you want to buy, but that's what I said. You know, you got to earn the strength. This is something that you have to do. You know, and then I will training this type of clientele, dealing with them is very interesting, because I will, for some clients, take over the entire ecosystem that they have around them. So I will order the meals for them, you know, from websites like Trifecta, Territory, you know, there are many out there. I will build everything. I have the credit card information, I have the login information, I log everything, I book it, buy everything, because they don't want to deal with it. They just don't. They don't have the mindset to think about those things in the daily life. You know, and that's when I come in. It's a lot more. It's funny because people relate it to like, oh, they have the money to pay. You're like, yeah, they do, but it's gonna take more of your time. You know, because they want you to really take control of it. They will show up to the gym. They will do the workouts, but everything else, I have to take over. Like even. For some clients, they give them the schedule. If they have a meeting, if they're traveling, they will schedule, the secretary will schedule the dinners, and then they send me where they're going to have dinner. And then I have to look at the menu and tell them, give them option 1, option 2, option 3, you know, because then they see on the message, they know what they have to eat. They don't even look at the menu. They sit down like, I want this and that, you know. So it's really eliminating the obstacles for them not to make a bad decision.
You're like a puppet master pulling the strings of all these people's lives.
You're so much more than a coach. You're like a health manager.
Health manager. Great word.
Like it's like you just take over that entire aspect of their lives. And you're like,
everything.
Here's what you need to do.
Everything. So, you know, some coaches, you know, some clients go to their website and order food for them, grocery store, you know, just here. You know, some of the guys that are trained, that are single, you know, very successful, I will do that for them. But if they're married, they have a wife at home, I will help guide them like, hey, these are the things they need to pay attention. I had a client once, he's still my client, he hired a chef. And then the chef and I were butt-headed because the chef wanted to cook with all the butter and everything. I was like, no, you can't. So chef left, you know, and then we had to find another chef, you know. And then we had to talk to the chef. Okay, I know you like cooking things with flavor, which is great. but the flavor is going to have to come not from the butter, not from the added fat.
Yeah.
It's going to have to come from spices and so forth.
Yeah.
You're going to have to cook on the macro based, you know.
Yeah.
And then they will say that they want to do it, but then they get bored because they want to be creative, you know.
Yeah.
So all those things. So you're constantly having to manage all that for them because they won't do it. I have a client that was traveling, you know, a few weeks ago, you know, and I know that he was going to do an awful job with protein intake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I knew what hotel they were staying for the whole week. And then I ordered Core Power, had it delivered to the hotel. And I was like, I don't want to hear any bull crap for that. Oh, I can get my hands on it. But that's what they're expecting of you, you know.
Yeah.
So you're really doing all that work for them because they won't do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so it sounds like client service is a very important part of training execs. Yeah. Is there anything else for trainers who want to train execs that they should like develop, or like specific things that they want out of a trainer?
Well, it's a good question. So I would say if you want to get involved with the clientele, you really have to meet where they are. You really have to. You're going to have to put your ego aside in the things that you believe that are optimal because they're not there yet, you know. So it's going to have to be baby steps with them, very baby steps, because they have dinners every night. They have functions, meetings. So alcohol is involved in a lot of that. Yeah. The training is not going to be as intense you want it to be at first. So it's really, you have to have the tolerance. You have to have the patience. They're very different than someone coming up to you and say, hey, I want a transformation coach. Those people are highly motivated to train. They're highly motivated to follow a diet. They will be could be your best clients if that's what you're looking for. But the execs, it's really understanding where they are, what they have access to, and then having the patient to manage their expectation and the craziness that come with it. But when I mean craziness, is just because they know that I can just go get IV drip. I don't need to drink water. I work with a lot of Wall Street guys. They are the masters of trying to find hacks for everything. Because they just can't, you know. Yeah. And then on the talk that I gave, I was talking to people like people looking for cold plunge. They're looking for IV drips. They're looking for even the GLP-1. They're looking for ketogenic diet. They're looking for the fasting. But the message to them is always, do the low-hanging fruit first. You know, address the basic first. So all those things here is just nice to have. And then I have to explain to them, ice bath is great, but when you see a professional athlete doing, is a lot different than you guys because you're trying to build muscle mass, and now you're trying to talking about doing, you know, cold plunge all the time after you train. Then it's going to have the inhibit muscle growth, and that's not what you want. You want to increase muscle mass. So all those things. So the message to coaches I want to get in the field, just, you know, it's going to require you to have a lot more tolerance than you think, you know, because they'll test you, you know, they'll push you, they'll challenge you, they're smart, they have access to information, even though it may not be the greatest information. But I learned this very many years ago. Nene, who is an NBA basketball player from Brazil, a good friend of mine, I remember he telling me one time, you know, that I wouldn't believe what you see, the things that people come to sell to them in the locker room. You know, I mean, the stuff that you and I would never see it, you know, just because they have access to it. They have money, you know, and that's the world that these people are dealing with. So they're going to come at you with things that you didn't hear about yet, which happened to me when I was doing the talk. One of the biggest, you know, the main boss came at me with a question asking about some sort of IV drip, something different. And I was like, what is he talking about? You know, I was caught off guard, you know, but I have no problem saying, hold that thought. I need to look into that. Yeah. You know, and I looked it up. It was basically, you know, some sort of, some similar to IV drip, but it boosts the metabolism, so, you know. And then you go back to, okay, but you don't sleep. I know that you don't sleep, this particular person. I know that you work in so many different time zones. You know, he was in Asia last week, just came back. This week he's going to South America. I was like...
Yeah, if your circadian rhythm is all messed up and you're sleeping 4 hours a night, the NAC IV is not going to save you.
You know, nothing's going to help you. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting. So yeah, it's just being prepared, because they will come at you with things that you don't know sometimes, and they will they'll try to test you. You know, and every single client that I have trained at that, at that level, they have tried to, push me around, just to see where I'm at. And they love doing that, especially the guys from Wall Street, they love with you, just to see who you are.
Because that's like their world. Like,
it's all, I ate 10 bacon cheeseburgers.
Yeah. and I have a my style of training, I'll tell them to off, and then there is even a joke among my clients, and sometimes I even post on social media because I call them, don't be a little when I see that they're getting off hand, I will tell them to piss off, and then they sometimes they joke with me, I was going to skip training, but then I thought about that, you're just screaming in my head, don't be a because I'll say that to them. So it's just trying to bring build that bond with them, and understand where they are. They like that you're well informed. So for a new coach out there, they don't care if you know about biomechanics. They don't care about any of that. They wanted to know if you care about them. And they like to talk to people at a high level. So be informed, read the paper. Read the news. You may not agree with or have a political view that he or she have, but you got to be informed because they like to talk about it. And it's a lot better than what I used to see. So the reason I resonate with them so well in the last several years and I even see that at the gym that we train, some coaches will train their clients.
I hate seeing that.
They don't say anything. They just have hints. They have food on them. They're eating the food while they're training. It's a no. You got to look professional. And even back then, my clients would joke with me, but they would notice that I wore my shoes always clean. Tennis shoes was clean. My shirt matched my shoes. When I was training, so I always looked tight, needy. Because they look that way. You know what I mean? And they want to be around people that look like them, that care about things like they do. If you're sloppy and you don't take good care of yourself, good hygiene, you're out. They don't want to be around that. So it's more about what you know, but a lot to do with how you look.
The image you're presenting. Yeah, because if they're a high-performing person, they don't want to be associated with someone that could kind of break that paradigm,
100%. 100%.
Sorry, with what you were saying with how they have access to all these different things and access to all this information, that's also like for the general population, people have a lot more access to information. Now there's AI and people can ask AI for things, but something that I've seen that's really cool that you've done is you made this giant spreadsheet with every airport in the country, exactly what your clients can eat at each airport and the macros on every single piece of food in the airport at all different stands. Like that's such an insane value that you're providing to your clients that even with all the information that they have access to and AI and everything, they can't get that. Only you can give them. Like that is an insane product that you built for them.
That was fun project to do. I really liked it. When I started, I was like, here we go. And then I was like, oh, wait a second, this is kind of fun. And then you start to find out how the food companies work, right? Because when I was doing this massive list, I started doing with the top 10 or top 12 airports in the country, So I'm still, every now and then, every other month, I will add something to it. Like if I'm working with people that I know are flying from different airports that they don't see on the list, and then I'll add. Now it's more easier to do than it was when I first started. But like, for instance, when I started, it was like, wow, I'm sure San Francisco and LA and New York is going to have the best meals ever because those, in those cities, people are very conscious about their health. Like in New York airport, one company controls all the restaurants.
I hate that airport.
That was New York. So and I make fun. I put a little bit of personality on when I wrote the sheets for them and everything. It was like, you would think that one of the most health conscious city in the country would have that option, but they don't. So there is a tremendous value because my job, like I said, I will shop for them. I will order the meals from companies like Trifecta or whatever else. My job is don't give me excuse. I don't want to hear because I am providing you everything that you need in order to stay on track, you know. And then the airport food is what they love.
Yeah.
It's about to grab and go, because the message to them is always that there is always a better choice. It may not be the best, but there is a better choice.
Yeah.
So if you stack on Terminal C and all you see is a McDonald's, there is a way out. We can do something with it, you know. If you see a Chick-fil-A, there is something that we can do. So we just explain to them what they can order, specifically how you go to Chipotle. Some airports have Chipotle.
Yeah.
What you order, what you ask for, and giving them the tools to take control. So that's what I tell them. I'm giving the tools to take control. I'm taking the guess away, so you don't have to guess what you have to do, but I'm also giving you control to be in charge. Don't let the food be in charge of you, you know, control.
Do you also do like, you know, like the Centurion lounges or like the American Express lounges? Like I would imagine those are pretty popular with the clientele.
Yeah, so what I funny said that on the sheet I specifically tells them this is grab and go food, because if your has time to go chill out on the lounge, you should be at the gym. And I tell them that. So if you get into the lounge an hour earlier, we need to talk, because your 30-minute session could have been a 45-minute session, you know, lifting session. So I specifically tell them grab and go food, because I know they're running from point A to point B. But they know if you go to the restaurant, the basics are, if you're going to steakhouse, tell them to cook your steak without butter. You know, you're going to get steamed veggies or grilled veggies. If they do grilled veggies, tell them not to put seed oil in it because you're allergic to it, you know. Or if they want to cook with some oil, ask them to put olive oil. And then I'll tell them, don't worry about if they're going to put 3 tablespoons of olive oil, because if you're walking and meeting all day long, you're going to need that fat anyway, because just to make up for the calorie, right? Because then I'll tell them, because sometimes eating food is better than not eating food. You know, so just get some calories in you to help to mitigate the stress. You know?
Don't make perfect the enemy of good. It goes back to what you were saying earlier with addressing that base of the pyramid first. Food quantity or protein quantity over quality. Like that, those are the big rocks that people have to hit first.
They do. I have one girl that she's a high exec with Walmart, right? I've been working with her for 15 years now, about 15. And she's like that. Sometimes she's so busy, you know, and she's traveling, she can eat. And she'll text me, I'm in this restaurant, I need calories, what do I get? And then we said, do they have a ribeye? She's like, no, what do they have? And like, whatever. Like, what is the fattest thing you can get your hands on that has protein, is going to give you some calories? And then you say, like, get the double cheeseburger with bacon, avocado, and then tell them to put an egg on it. Because she's eating 2,500 calories, you know, per day. And then she'll do it. She'll like, I'll eat a 1,200 calorie burger, you know. Was the best thing ever? No, but for someone who hadn't eaten all day,
you need that.
She need the calories, you know. So it's really telling them there is no perfection. You know, we can't be perfect. We have to manage a situation where you're just good enough without being too bad. You know, and then when you come home, then we're gonna address those things. You know, and that's when I come into play. And then let's see what we can do here for food, see what we can do for lifting. Another good thing about training execs, even dealing with some of the corporations, that many years ago, some law firms in the country found out that if they build a gym in the office, they would make a considerably more amount of money. Because they would not walk from point A, from the office to the gym, take a shower, train, whatever, and then walk back. The 30 minutes that the partners spent commuting from the office to 2 blocks to the gym turned out to be several $1 million of revenue. Lost revenue per year. So there is one company that I work with, one law firm in DC, that I helped them design the fitness center. You know,
that's awesome.
And it is awesome fitness center, because they wanted people in the building. So they wanted, because they knew that if you went down to train, something happened, guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna go straight back up. Because if you are at a gym 2-3 blocks from the office, you're not coming back. You're going to train. You're going to finish your session, because I'm already here, whatever, it is what it is. But if you're in the building, you feel compelled to go up. Then there is another gym, another company that built an entire restaurant.
Wow.
In the building.
What?
Yes. With meeting rooms and everything. So now they don't have to go to a fancy lunch downtown DC, walk outside. No, they have it there with divided pocket doors that they can close. They can have private meetings, if something confidential that is taking place. So they're getting very smart at keeping the people in the building so they don't leave, which is not a bad thing because, but in exchange, they're bringing me in. So they're making me available to talk to employees. They have the gym that it's nice. They have good equipment, It may not be where we're used to, but again, it's good enough for what they have, So
something is better than nothing.
Yeah, so that is taking place right now. So a lot of those companies are doing that. Those organizations, they invest in it. A lot of them are paying for they're giving gym passes for the employees. So it doesn't matter where you are around the world. You have this thing that the company pays. You can go to any gym you want to. You can work out. So it's interesting the drive behind it for people to be a little bit healthier because companies have realized that the bottom line you increase. You want to help.
I imagine like your health insurance expenditure probably goes way down if you have a healthy, employee base.
Yes.
You're going to pay less premium on the health insurance that you're providing.
Yes, 100%.
Fewer sick days, all that stuff adds up. Fast.
It does, but it also builds, like I mentioned earlier, it builds the relationship between the employee and the employee, right? Yeah. Now they see that the company cares about that.
Yeah.
I have to do, like this organization I spoke to in Orlando, I have to do 2 more engagements for them in April, following up to what I did before. And it's all going to be, making myself available to talk to people one-on-one, have a conversation with them for 30 minutes, what they wanted to learn and ask, because some people don't want to ask questions in an open format, right?
Yeah, and private issues, stuff like that.
Yeah, so some, for instance, I already got some other question they want to talk about, like perimenopausal women want to talk about if they should work out different, so all those things, why? Because I mentioned that to them during my talk, like there are people on social media are very good at talking to your pain. Okay. Yeah. I have a degree in sports managing marketing. So I know what I need to, and I tell them that I can tell exactly what you wanted to hear, to get a reaction out of you.
Yeah.
And those people are very good at it. My reaction when I talk to you, my reaction is to get you to move. I wanted to do something, but people will talk to you to make you believe that you have something special. And I will tell my clients, you're not special. You're not special. I know you wanted to believe you're special, but you're not. Should I be training lift different because I'm 50 years old? Should I be doing something different because I'm going through perimenopause? All those things. But there are people selling them programs specifically for that. So if you have tried so many things in your life before without success, you're going to pay attention to whatever message is being broadcast.
With what we're talking about with social media and all this kind of bad information out there, I guess that's a really good point for people to focus on. So like at the best gym that I worked at, we had a really good sales manager and he would teach every trainer way to sell. And part of that was you ask them when you're doing their like intake, one of the last questions you ask them is like, how bad do you want to reach this goal on scale of 0 to 10? And normally people would say like 8, 9, or 10. Yeah. And then you would bring out the prices for the sales packages and you'd be like, okay, so you just told me that like this is so important to you that it's 9 out of 10 that you want to reach this goal. So like this is what it costs. It might look expensive, but like if you really want it, this is what you should do so that you can actually get help because you haven't been making progress on your own. And so if people can realize that when they're on social media, like everyone on social media that's trying to make hooks to get more views and more shares and everything like that, like they are trying to hook you in that way by attacking your specific pain point. And that's why there's all these different niche marketing on social media where they're attacking like exactly your very specific demographic of person. So watch out for that because it might not actually be the answer. Like if the perimenopausal woman or like what became really popular a few years ago was like for women during your cycle you have to work out this way during this week and this way during this week and this way during this week. And so a lot of women bought into that where it wasn't necessarily like accurate or backed up by any kind of data.
Yeah, definitely. And And that's a sad thing. That's where we go back to bad message, and people just see it as a sales opportunity, right? And they will fall for it. You know, they will purchase that program, and they'll follow for 30 to 60 days. Oh, it didn't work out, but they'll think that the problem is with them. You know, oh, maybe it wasn't me, but maybe I need something different. But not understanding that the consistency is the play. You know, they need to get to the gym. They need to just check the boxes. And if they don't have a perfect day one day because something happened, they went out, they had a meeting, it was longer, they drank a little bit of more alcohol than they wanted to, you always have tomorrow. You know, tomorrow is a clean sheet. You start it again. But the marketing on social media is very effective because you wanted to believe. Like the guy, you're probably familiar with it. The guy was selling I always use him as an example when I talk to those people. Oh my gosh, body type diet.
Yes.
Be shredded.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
be shredded.
Be shredded. So people fall for it, you know, because, I need a body, you know, I need the exercise diet program specifically for my body type. It was like, you know, but people gravitated towards it.
Yeah.
You know,
the mesomorph theory has been disproven so many times.
Yeah.
But people react to it so much because they see, oh, I'm that shape.
Yeah.
If I haven't gotten results doing what I've been doing, but this guy says that if you're this shaped body, you need to work out this way versus this way.
Yep.
Like, that's a pain point that people will react to emotionally.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with talking about the pain point. Like I use that, but to get a different reaction, like just to get you to move. But people use the pain point to sell a product that they know it's flawed. Yeah. But people believe that it isn't because they feel hopeless, you know, unfortunately. So it takes place a lot, but it's unfortunate, but it's not. There is no changing it.
That's sales and marketing.
That's sales and marketing. Every company uses that. The news media uses that. They spin the message, right? It may not be the message that you think it is when you read the full article, but the headline says one thing, and then when you it happens everywhere. Marketing that's how we sell. That's how we consume. You know, but in the health and fitness field, it becomes an issue because people are not becoming healthier. Right. So they have a lot of stop and go. But the number one show when working with execs or even anyone else is just to tell them, if you don't change your behavior, nothing's going to change. You know, behavior is the number one thing that we need to try to address after we do the food and everything else. But if you don't start to realize that we need to have a different approach for certain things, then we're just going to be on this rat race, chase your tail. Nothing's going to change.
What are some of the ways or methods that you've found are most effective for creating behavior change into long-term habits?
I give them a checklist. So I give them, they have like a Google Sheet, and then we start addressing sleep quality. That's the first thing that we do. 30 minutes of lifting sessions, you know, at the minimum. And then some habits for leading up to sleep and hydration. Those are the 3-4 things that we do first for the first 4 weeks. And then on the sheet, there you click what they have done on the day, and then you have a little graph there. You know, that we can track the percentage of how well they're doing for the first 30 days. So the first 30 days is, I'm not going to tell them to not look at the cell phone, but I'm going to tell them, hey, buy this orange glass, you know, blue and green light blockers, wear this, you know, and then they'll get it, you know, they'll buy that. And then I'll say, hey, we need to implement more hydration to your diet, right? So let's push the coffee to 3 hours later in the day instead of first thing in the morning. Let's start the day, drink more water, electrolyte, and then get a little boost from the salt, from the electrolyte to get a little bit of energetic. And then 3 hours later, let's drink our coffee. You know? So those things, because I'm thinking about how am I going to help them wake up and how I'm going to get them ready for bed 12 hours later, right? And then we will implement with them magnesium, you know, for night. You know, we do a 3-on-8 magnesium.
The best one.
Yeah, that's the one that I like to get. So I have a partnership with Momentous. So I send in the link, they'll get it. Those are the very basic things that we address first, you know, and then once they start to realize they're sleeping better, they feel a little bit more rejuvenated, then the buying is done. They realize, okay, I can do this now, and then from there we move on.
So you do like reinforcement through a checklist with daily habits, and you focus on 3 to 4 at a time until it's that 28-day mark of building a habit, and then you go with more and more. You just pound them on each other.
Every week we add a new a new habit.
Okay.
Right. So we start with 2, and then every week we have a new one,
Yeah.
that you do in conjunction of the other 2. Then like towards the end, I tell them read, a lot of them do a good job with it, but I tell them read something non-work related, 10 minutes, get a book, whatever it is, or meditate, So those little things, just trying to get them to turn the brain off whenever possible, here and there. The glasses work, the feedback I get from the glasses that they work, they feel like once they put the glass, they start to get a little sleepy, like they don't feel like they have to look at the screen as much anymore, but late in the night, obviously, and then they put it down, go to sleep. So those are the checklists that we do. So they check those little marks on the Google Sheets. And then from there, then we go after protein. On the sheet, we do have the protein, but then after 30 days, you go hardcore after it. Are we going to eat even more?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on like glycine and stuff? Because I've seen a lot of stuff on that, just as like a sleep enhancer.
Yeah, the
like
magnesium.
No, just like straight glycine.
I haven't read much about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to look into that. Yeah.
Glycine's effective. I think magnesium threonate, that's always the one I recommend first.
Yeah.
But glycine is also...
glycine is magnesium, isn't it?
No, glycine is an amino acid.
It's amino acid?
Yeah,
okay, I thought it was magnesium. Thorn cells, right?
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of companies sell glycine, but I think glycine's effective based off like literature, but magnesium threonate even more so.
Yeah. Threonate, I like them because they penetrate the brain barrier. Is the only magnesium that does that. So it helps cognitive health and also help you to sleep better.
You were thinking magnesium glycinate.
Glycinate,
that's why, There is a form of magnesium that people
that's
take.
What I'm thinking.
But
The glycinate, I have the reason I give people threonate. I have had a few clients, not many, just a few, tell them that they feel like they're on drugs when they take the glycinate. They feel very, they go to bed, it's like, woo.
That's what I take at night. I mean, I don't feel like that. I don't think at least, but yeah.
I had a few clients tell me like, I don't think I like this. I feel like I'm hallucinating, and so back to 308.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I need to look at that one. People take that purely just for amino acids, just for sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I had just a good experience with it in college because I had a hard time getting more than 5 hours because I was so busy. And so I started taking glycine based off of some studies I read. And from what I understand, it's supposed to get you more REM cycles per hour and increase so instead of maybe 5 hours, you only get 1, maybe you'll get 2 now. And I did notice that I felt much more well rested, even though I was still sleeping less.
Do you still take it?
Not as regularly as I did, but I have some upstairs, and I'll take it every now and then. So it's an interesting thing, and I was just curious because you guys are far more knowledgeable than me on this stuff, and I'm just kind of shooting from the head, being
see what sticks,
see what I like, see what I don't.
You gotta try things, just give it a shot.
What about recently on the podcast we covered a study that showed high dosing creatine after a poor night's sleep can really help with both the metabolic effects of a poor night's sleep and your cognition.
Yeah, Dr. Jackson just talked about that recently. He did. Yes. My clients take creatine. I tell them to take it.
Do you ever have them high dose, 20 grams of creatine?
No, I just do the normal 1 scoop, the creatine. They like it. The women really see the difference. Some of the ladies that are taking it, they tell me that they feel a little bit better.
Yeah. Women only make 36% of the amount of creatine that men make. Yeah. So it's even more important for women to be supplementing with creatine. Yeah. But they're always scared because they think they're going to turn into Hercules if they.
Yeah, there is the issue. Some female clients have complained that they gain a little weight but it didn't settle. Yeah. Afterwards, so they respond different, but they're very pleased with how they feel. They were able to notice a little bit of a difference, mental sharpness. Yeah. So when that's the problem too. When you train a lot of people that are in their 40s, mid-40s, going to the perimenopausal phase, ladies, the creatine becomes a very important aspect. Yeah. Especially the ladies that can't take hormone therapy because of breast cancer risk in the family. Okay. Yeah. So the research out there is a little. Some people say that taking the hormone won't give you higher chances of developing cancer. Yeah. But then also what we need to understand is some of the clients, they don't want to even risk through that risk.
Sure.
You know? And which I totally understand. I wouldn't either. You know?
I mean, we've talked about that on the show with peptides. Like peptides are a huge rage right now.
Yeah.
But like anytime you're taking something in your body like that, like it doesn't just have one singular effect.
Yes.
Which is why you're starting to see a lot of side effects with GLP-1 inhibitors. So, like when it comes to Ozempic, the main effect it has is that people are going to eat less.
Yes.
But it also has a lot of other effects. It reduces your behaviors of addiction and stuff like that, which you wouldn't necessarily think is related, but it kind of is. And then like there's a lot of other effects too. So whenever you're taking something exogenous, there's always that risk, and we don't necessarily know all the risks yet.
We don't. Yeah, it's still developing, right? I like the GLP-1 for the people that really struggle with the food, don't bring off. I have a few clients I take, and one person told me, I like how my brain is calm. You know, I don't have to think about food. So this person lost about 50 pounds, you know, healthy, off the pill now, eating healthy and everything. So it was a good boost. The person needed to lose a lot of weight and lost. But yes, there is the component of what is next. You know, what is the we don't know yet, right? There's a lot of unknown. But we also know that what it means to be unhealthy and fat. Right. So it's a catch-22. We take this drug that you don't quite know what the full consequences of it are, but we also know that if you continue down that path of being extremely fat, extremely unhealthy, we know what's going to lead up to.
It's like, do we need an emergency intervention? Well, then yes, it's a good thing. Because my wife and I had a friend back in Tennessee that was extremely overweight, and she started on it through her doctor that suggested it, and lost over 100 pounds. And like she definitely needed to like lose a lot of that weight. And then that got her started on eating healthier. Like then she started, because that was the first time she ever saw progress. So she was encouraged by the progress, and then started actually paying attention to what she was eating. Like aside from just the reduced calorie intake that it creates. And then she started going to the gym. So it's like, this can be the snowball that gets things rolling for people if they are like on the deep end.
Yes, but we all know there's some people taking and abusing the drug, right? People that are not very heavy at all. They just see as a easy path.
Way to cut.
Easy way to cut, which is wild. But people will take the easy cut if they have access to it. Like, I'm from Brazil, and then we'll talk about that with Eric all the time, right? Even Nick. Drugs in Brazil, easily available. You know, steroids, easily available. So everybody takes it. Because it's just there. You know, it's not like it is here in the US. It is a little bit more complicated to take. You know, you can find the train is selling, the gym is selling, everybody's selling. You know, they don't care. People just use it. So I remember when I first started training many decades ago, I went home once, and that's when my body was a little bit different. I was big. I wasn't just the skinny kid anymore. Absolutely nobody believed that I actually trained any food. They just couldn't believe it. You know, they don't believe it. And then it was funny because at the time my mom told me, go do a physical. You know, you have to do a physical. And I knew what she was getting to. You know, she wanted to know if I was using drugs or not. So I was like, whatever. So I went to do a physical. You know, and then the doctor, and you know, she was like, oh, you're really not using anything. It was like, you can get big eating food in training, you know, but they never tried, you know, because drugs is easily available in Brazil. You can get insulin in Brazil without a prescription. You know, you can go on the counter and just asking to get insulin. That's how wild it is, you know. But then you develop that culture that people don't believe that you can do something without the assistance of drugs.
Without enhancements.
Like even plastic surgery in Brazil. We are the number one country, I think, with the most plastic surgery procedures in the world. You know, so everybody gets, you know, liposuction, some work here, some work there, because it's just easy available. We will do that. Humans will do that. We tend to choose the easier path. You know? Everybody does. Our brain is wired to resist change. Our brain is wired to resist doing the hard thing. Doesn't like it. You know. So when something comes like, oh, dude, take this one little pill and lose 50 pounds. Oh, I'll take it. You know, it's too easy. But 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 that's when coaches have to help the clients. The coaches have to have the conversation. They have to try to educate the clients. I have a client who went to a doctor, and the doctor wanted to prescribe GLP-1, but the doctor was like, "No, I'm on this path. I'm going to eat well. I'm going to, do this." But the doctor was trying to push, but didn't understand where the guy was coming from, right? Yeah. That he had the motivation to train. He was determined to train. He was determined to change his habits, but he wanted to slap him with a pill. Didn't need it, but that's what we do. We wanted the easy path, but the coaches have to take ownership of it. And I think what helped me be successful with my clients is that I don't take the hands-off approach. I'm involved. When they see that I am involved as much as they are involved. That's a very important thing that coaches need to remember. You cannot care more than your client care. Yeah, you can't. Because and I've done that in the past. I've made this mistake in the past. So you're gonna get frustrated. It's you're gonna build resentment between you and the client. You're gonna get disappointed, but that's just because you didn't read the room, right? Yeah. There's a movie. There's a comedy. I forgot the movie, but there is a woman. She says a line: "Read the room." That's a great line that I always keep in my mind. You have to be able to read the room, be able to understand what can they do and what they cannot do. If they want to care from level 1 to 10, just level 5, I'll meet you right there. Level 5 it is all that I'm going to give to you. But if you want to ask more questions, I will go above and beyond to provide you with more questions. Normally people tend to just have a very mild approach to fitness. They're not highly crazy about it, but once they see the results, then the attitude changes, but you gotta just be able to walk the line with them, the path, don't do more because it may put them off, and you all have made that mistake as a coach. Like I made a mistake when I was in Olympic weightlifting that I wanted to teach everybody how to squat. And it was the wrong approach. A lot of people didn't want to do that.
Sometimes people can't squat.
Sometimes people can't squat. Exactly. So it's just, as you start into the process of becoming a coach, a young coach, just be flexible, just don't be so rigid with your own methodology because it can change at any time, The basics of it can be there, the foundation of what you believe, but you have to be able to adapt to the client, that you have with you. And it's important to have a niche, that's why I have my niche. That's why marketers do their niche. Because there are so many people that you can help, but you can't help everybody. But when you craft your message, when you craft your marketing in the niche group that you wanted to work with, those people listening to what you have to say. So I could say, I train busy people that work all the time. That's too broad. Everybody.
Everyone thinks they're busy.
Everything's busy, right? So, but when you niche, like I'm training busy execs, juggling life through the airport terminals, then they resonate with people. Oh, I travel a lot. I'm so they are listening to you. So when you do your social media posts and you start to talk to them, then they know who you are. Then that's how I got involved on this thing, because then I started to be more specific with what I say on social media. I'm not training you guys. I'm not going to say something to you guys because I'm not trying to get you as a client. I'm going to say something to someone that I know that is paying attention to me. And that's how it goes. And then you develop that over the time. And then you build your niche. Niche is very important. You have to have it.
Yeah, you're talking about how involved you are with your clients. I mean, we talk about that a lot, but going on to earlier in your career when you were training the PJs and then when you were in Greensboro, were you as involved with your clients back then, or did it shift more once you were training the executives?
I was involved with it, but not as much. Right. I was young, I didn't know much about training. I was a little off back then, still learning things. I didn't think I have a voice, like all the struggles everybody goes today, I went through early on in my life, how much I could push people, how much I could not. So I wasn't that involved as I am today. But today I see that for my niche, for the group of clientele that I work with, I need to be involved. Because if I go missing and I don't care, they go and they do crazy shit, just because they don't have it. It's about accountability. That's truly what I'm selling. I'm not selling coaching services, because they can pull a program from anywhere on the web, right? It may not be the best program, but they don't know that. They don't care. They can ask AI, ChatGPT, to give them a program. But I'm selling accountability. So when I'm involved with them, it's me making them accountable, and that's what it is. That's basically what the essence of our relationship is, accountability. Because at the moment that I'm gone, that I'm not around them, they go back to the old self, and they know that, and that's what they're paying for. They'll tell you, I'm paying you to make me accountable, and don't hold it back,
So with that, a lot of time on this show, we have talked a lot about online trainers, typically through a negative lens. But I know that you're a very good online trainer. Obviously, if anyone is listening to this, they would probably agree. How many clients do you typically have at a time? Because it gets hard to manage more than like 30 or 40 at a time.
Yes, it gets very hard. So I have different layers of how I work with people, right? So I have the people that I work with one-on-one that I'm very hands-on. So that's about 40 to 50 people that I work, The funny thing is, I have had my clientele for a very long time. And that's what I tell people sometimes. I'm very proud to be able to say that my clients have been with me on average like 5 years, 6 years.
And that's what we always mention is one of the good signs of like a really good coach.
So I keep them around 40, some of those 40 I pay a lot of. Some people I'm very involved. Some others I know that I don't need to be as involved. And they have groups of people that I coach, for each organization. Like this organization I'm working with, I have 1,000 people that I provide service to them, right? It's not a one-on-one. It's not as much of a hands-on like I have right now, but it's just one size fits all approach, right? So I give them a price. So I put everybody into this bundle, and then I write the training program for everybody to have access to. So I have several groups like that I do. So, but hands-on all the time, consuming my time is about 40 people.
That's that. I feel like that's pretty much the max. Like you really, it gets very hard to manage more than like 40 clients at a time. It does.
I like more like, I like a little bit of a mixture, like working with these people, be very involved with them. But I've been enjoying a lot giving the talks and talk to people in the small group sets, like 25 to 100 people, because then from there I can build something for the one little community where they can go and do as a challenge. So that's what I try to do with them, helping them do a better challenge, not just the crazy challenges that they see online. So kind of put them on the path of habit path, training path, and nutrition path, and then go from there. I deliver everything through an app. I use Train Heroic. I've used Trainer Heroic ever since I started this process in 2016. I've been online, having a relationship with my clients, maintaining their relationship with them. Like the girl who I told about Walmart, she was living here. She moved to Arkansas, and then that's how online became my thing, because a lot of the people that moved out of the region and people that I maintain a relationship with would ask me, "Do you want to ride my program? Do you want to ride my program?" I was like, oh shit, I know a lot of people that I've trained.
I feel like that's how a lot of us progress online. Like one of my first clients ever, training her in person and stuff, and then I moved away. It wasn't she moved away, I moved away. And then she wanted to keep training with the programs I was giving her, so she just became an online client, and then I started offering.
That's how you do, and then I have people that move to San Francisco, with people that move abroad, and then they kept asking, do you want to write my training program? And I started doing that more and more and more and more and more, and in 2016 I just pulled the trigger, like I'm just going to do online now. And then at the same time I was partnering with my clients' companies, because you have to ask. The one thing that I learned in school in marketing, you have to advocate for yourself. You cannot be shy of telling what you sell. You have to tell people. You have to tell people when you do a social media post, click here, call me, this is what I sell. You have to tell them the reaction you want them to have. Because you're shy about it, you're not going to get it. People are, for lack of a better word, people are dumb that way when marketing is involved. If you don't tell them, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know? So I spoke with my clients, and there are clients that I've been bugging for years. We need to do a wellness program for our company. We need to do this, we need to do that. You have a great space, let's build a gym there. You know, they just keep listening to you, you know, they don't really pay attention, you know, and then eventually the workers start to ask, hey, it would be nice if we, you know, did a gym here, if we build, you know, did some wellness program, and then who are they going to remember that they've been bugging them for years? Me. You know, this talk that I gave, that this program I'm doing with this company in our organization, was based on that. You know, I trained the one of the big wigs' son. You know, I worked with them. He was a young kid. He was playing basketball, you know, in local high school. Then he went to Stanford. So that's how it started. And then talk to the mom about training, talk to the parents. And then when the company wanted to do that, who should remember?
Yeah.
She was like, oh, Rafael does that, you know? So I always tell people what I do, not to show off, not to impress anybody, is because I'm planting a seed in their mind that when the time comes, when something becomes available, they will immediately remember that that's something that I do.
Yeah.
You know? And that's how I've been successful in building that clientele and helping doing wellness program for organizations, because it's all based on my clients. You know, this is not like me cold calling a company. Hey, I'm Rafael. You know, I do this for a living. No, it's just someone in that company knows me.
Yeah.
And then they make sure that they want to do a wellness program. And then like, oh, I know someone who does that.
Yeah.
You know, and then they call me. They were the law firm. So this client that designed the gym, I was bugging him. You need to design a gym. You design a gym. You guys have the space. You know, I heard the law firms are doing that now. You know, and then he looked at it like, oh shit, you're right. And then we're gonna do it. You wanna help us? I was like, yeah. And then you get clients from that. But like you said, you can't train everybody. You can't do one-on-one, right? Then that's why I offer programs so then where they can just build the entire training program for that one specific gym, and then they have access to it through that Train Heroic app that I send to them, and everybody uses it. You know, and that's how everything is built from there. You know, that's how we do it. So it's great. You know, it's very good. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
No.
What about training with your wife? I know that you and your wife go to the gym together.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. And I love training her. We work out together. It's very fun. You know, she's the only person that tells me to off, you know. Let's do this exercise. No, we're not. But it's a very good. I know it's hard to train your own wife. It's very difficult. But it's been great training with her. You know, Nick trained her for a long time. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, when I joined DMV and I saw Nick, that's how I got into the Prescript. You know.
Oh, really?
So an extra shout out for Nick Ridpath. And when I saw Nick, I'm like, oh, Prescript is real. You know. And I'm finally meeting someone who has been through the program. And I saw how smart he is, how brilliant of a coach he is, and how inspiration he is to me also, you know. Very brilliant guy. So Tanya used to train with him for many years, you know. And then she said, I just want to work out with you. Okay, and then now we train together. So it's good. It's a good harmony, you know. She likes to lift heavy. She understands that she needs to lift heavy. She understands that she needs to train hard. So that's why it works. You know. So it's awesome.
Well, and then you get to spend time together while you're doing that. So that's like another really great benefit, because it's not you're leaving to go to the gym and then you're not spending that time together. You get to spend it together.
Definitely, because you know when the day starts for us, we're very busy. You know, she's way busier than I am. Her day is way more chaotic than mine. I have control of my schedule, right? Her day, it's wild. So the 1 hour that we spend at the gym, like driving 10 minutes to the gym, you know, and then we go talk, having fun, walking out together, having fun, you know. And then if you pay attention, there are only 2 days out of the week that I have had fun on, because on leg day we tend to do a little bit of a different routine. But the other days we don't, you know. We really do the same exercise, and it may not be the best approach sometimes for her. She's tagging along with my program. She's just doing it with me, but you know, again, do you want to be perfect or do you want to enjoy your time with your wife? You know, it's just those the catch-22, and have fun. It's a 1 hour that we have together that we know that as soon as the day starts, we're only going to see each other 8 p.m., 9 p.m. again and hang out again. So it's great. So everyone out there, work out with your wife is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
It's an order from Rafael.
It can work. It's great, you know. So It's funny to look back, like to over 20 years of coaching and see how far you've come, just be open to learn, don't be so rigid.
Yeah.
That's what helps me a lot.
Yeah, that was... Yeah. So you already kind of hit it, because I always ask other coaches, like, what is one of the mistakes you made early on that, like, looking back, you realized was a mistake and that you changed and grew from? And for me, it was, like, my experience was mostly with free weights. Yeah. So all my clients were doing dumbbell and barbell exercises for a majority of their program.
I was there too.
Yeah. So I guess, like, you did more of the Olympic lifting.
Yeah.
I can't Olympic lift because I'm not athletic enough. So I don't do that with my clients. Because I can't really coach them through it since I haven't been there. But it's not, any other kind of mistakes that you made earlier on that you changed and have grown from?
Yeah. I mean, I was always, I went through the whole groove, right, of things. At one point, I wouldn't touch machines. Would be all barbell, dumbbell, and free weights, right? And then I realized, hold on a second. People, they can barely manage their own body against gravity.
Yeah, especially for beginners, just getting that output.
So I correct that. Like today, for the last several years, my program is machine-based heavily, and then the free weights is just, just a little bit of work for them to help control the body space. And then there will be a transition much later on where we maybe use more free weights if they want to, right? So I changed that a lot, right? What else did I change? I don't teach people Olympic weightlifting anymore.
Yeah.
Okay? So 7 years ago, I was like, I'm out of it. I can't do it. It's very hard. People now are very athletic. Even though I developed a Olympic weightlifting club at the gym that I used to train in Washington, D.C. We had great people out there competing, but I realized that it's not for everybody.
I mean, you were a pro competitor for Olympic weightlifting.
I competed for years.
The skill acquisition is so long.
It's wild. It takes a lot of time. When I did my last competition was Masters, National Masters, and I placed third. That competition was so broken. I mean, I was hurting. Everything was hurting. My joints were hurting, but it was just how I was training. I was training at the Olympic weightlifting gym with a former Olympian, Cara Heads. Love her, great coach. But the sport is demanding, right? And I wasn't eating well. I was partying. It's just why the shit that you do when you're young. Every Saturday night, I drank beer with the other people that I used to lift with. Didn't really pay attention to my nutrition. Didn't really pay attention to much anything. I was just strong. Yeah. You just take for granted. I was laughing because I saw a Vatican celebrating matching the goal scoring for Gretzky, and he's drinking a beer in the locker room. And I was watching the game with my wife. It was so funny to think that every Saturday I drank after I did max out at the gym.
I mean, that's college. Saturday morning, I'd be hitting legs, and then the day drink starts. Immediately go out, slow case of beer. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's just wild. So I kept away from weightlifting. I don't teach anybody anymore weightlifting. It's so funny because someone told me a few months ago that apparently the Nike Romaleos, old ones, are worth like $200. I had no idea. I had 3 pairs at home. And they were like, oh man, I'm going to make $600 because I don't use them anymore. No weightlifting. A lot more machine now, through Prescript, I have gotten a lot better at coaching, Again, don't be so hard-headed in the things that you think are right. And that will help me go through the process to realize, I'm doing a lot of things wrong. There's a lot of things that I'm not paying attention to. So it changed a lot in the last 5 years on how I program. Now I have a better understanding how people move, what the deficiencies are, how I can program separately for each person. And even through during the educational process, I've been even able to help my clients when I have large groups of people that I'm programmed to. Because then I know, everybody's stuck getting their arms overhead. So let's give them a little landmine press. Let's give them a half a kneeling cable let pull down to train muscles and stuff. So that has helped me a lot to be a lot more effective, on how I coach. In nutrition, big thing now. So whereas before I didn't pay much attention to it. Because again, I didn't think I have that much of an influence, but we do. So nowadays, I'm very hardcore on nutrition with my clients, because the importance of it.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, I've noticed that myself. When I finally figured out how to actually calculate my macros, like that's when I saw the most progress.
Yeah.
And I'd been lifting for 8 years at that point, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And that's the lowest level of nutrition.
Yeah.
Very basic, just like, like I should weigh my food and like, that's how I actually hit my macros, you know?
Yeah, and it's funny, a lot of the people that I work with, like every now and then when I have a new client that is one-on-one, we never do a diet cut because we just started eating maintenance. Yeah. Because they're not eating enough food.
Oh, yeah.
And they see massive results, and then people realize, oh shit, food is important. That's when they understand the beauty of eating enough calories, you know, to change your body composition. It's very important.
It's also a huge mindset shifter. I mean, especially with your clientele, like a lot of like 40-year-old women, I assume you're training with those execs. Like for them, they've never really looked at food as like enhancing their performance with food. They've always looked at it as like the enemy of
100%.
Like this food is going to make me fat. But if you can shift their mindset to, no, eating this way is going to help your performance and help how you feel throughout the day with your job. Like that's a total mindset shifter that then also makes them want to buy into the nutrition aspect.
100%. Food is the enemy for them. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah. When I talk to them, the first thing they look at me first and they say, but you train. I was like, but your calculations for caloric requirements doesn't give two about whether you train or not. You know, your protein minimum requirement is going to be your protein minimum requirement. It doesn't matter if you look like a wet noodle or if you train a lot, you know. But they don't understand that. They just don't understand, you know. And it's hilarious because people will judge you the same way they judge you the way that you look also, right? Yep. And that's the battle. And then that is a fine line also that sometimes I talk a lot to my wife about. Is like when you look too much of a meathead, that's going to be a detrimental.
Yes. Like
you can't work with the people that I work if you look a certain way. Yeah. Because they're not going to listen to you. You know, and I'm not big. I don't feel like I'm a super huge guy or anything. And I go through the process with some people, some of the clients that I deal with, a little bit, not much, but they will judge me and they say like, but you're big, you train, you know, like, you know, I've heard people sometimes tell me through their meetings that I do with the organization, someone who give a feedback like, he look a little bit intimidated. And then the people organizing the talk, you know, the head of the department, like, who do you think we're going to bring here? Someone who look fat, doesn't train, you know, but even though I'm not big, you know, I'm bigger than the average person.
You're big. It's the body dysmorphia kicking in. You're pretty big.
So that plays a role. People get a little bit intimidated, you know, and then you have to soften the message, you know, you have to talk very calm with them so they understand that you're not, you know, that person who is a gene rat.
Conan the Barbarian, you know.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, 100%, you know. But yeah, the food is the enemy thing is a real thing. Yeah. They do not see food as a good thing. Like we are for women, like, but talk to them. They'll say, but carb, you know, they're all afraid of eating carbs. And then I'll explain to them, hey, do you know that your brain, your central nervous system needs a minimum amount of carbohydrate to function properly? You know, so when you're feeling fatigue, when you're feeling stressed, the women have the tendency to have more anxiety than men, have more worries than men, and rightfully so. You know, we are guys who are knuckleheads who don't worry about anything, right? Yeah. The women who especially married with kids, they worry about the family. They'll put themselves last. Yeah. They will tell the husband that they're going to look after the children so the husband can go work out, right? They will do whatever it takes to see the family in harmony, the household functioning well before they say, I'm going to train, I'm going to feed myself. So there is that problem. So they don't eat. So I talk to them. So all this anxiety, all this nervous meltdown that you may have sometimes, feeling uneasy, it can be traced back to nutrition. Sometimes can be traced back to lack of carbohydrate. And then when we talk about the importance of carbohydrate to brain health, they're like, I didn't know that. But like, have you thought about let's at least eat 140 grams, 160 grams of carbohydrates to see how you feel now? And then they start eating more carbohydrates, healthy carbohydrates.
Just not 200 grams of sugar from fruit.
Yeah. Hey, leave my fruit alone. So then they see the difference, you know. You talk about food, it's so funny because when I was talking to Dr. Jackson, like, dude, I remember waiting for the pineapple truck to come on the corner of my street. Like, and you guys waiting for the ice cream truck, you know, like, beep, 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 on the ice cream truck. In Brazil, we had the pineapple guy. We would run down the street, give me a pineapple. You would cut the pineapple, you know, the mango during the mango season. So yeah, that was my ice cream truck version. You know,
we should make that and change in America. We should start way too well pineapple trucks.
We knew every day. What Monday was, you know, the mango. It was the mango. On Friday was the pineapple guy. You know, every other day was someone was bringing something.
Yeah,
you know, the blueberries and the strawberries. You know, that's how we grew up. The grapes. You know, is the true farm to table back then growing up in Brazil. You know, that's hilarious. But yeah, as a social media as a whole, we have a role of educating people. There are people out there that are spreading bad information, but there are also great people talking about the good stuff.
Oh yeah,
you know, and someone's going to listen to the bad, some people are going to listen to the good, and then, you know, eventually hope they'll be able to distinguish who is who.
Yeah. You know? For the listeners, who are some of the good accounts that you would recommend?
I love Dr. Jackson, as I explained. I love anybody associated with the Prescript, you know, Nick, Eric, everyone, you know, Brandon. They're awesome, great people. I love the Nadalski brothers, you know. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Love following the stuff. I love following the doctor from Houston, Gabriella, what's her name? Gabriella.
Oh, Lyons?
Gabrielle, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lyon, Gabrielle Lyon, yeah.
Love her. Lane Norton is my comedy of the day. Whenever he does a video, rating video, love watching him. I like a little bit of a Huberman Lab, you know.
Yeah.
I know some people think it's extreme, you know, but you got to be able to listen to what he's saying and just extract the things that is applied to you.
Nick's a big Huberman guy.
I like him. I know doctors, you know, like I have a really good friend of mine, my cousin. He was a strength conditioning coach. Then he went back to med school. You know, he hates Huberman because he hears people talk about shit to go see him. Like, okay, you're not a superhuman, blah blah blah. But it's just love what he has to say. I think he's responsible for bringing a lot of this health talk that we see today, you know, during COVID. He was doing a lot of great things talking about health. I like Anita, right? The Canadian doctor. What's his name?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh gosh, he's a famous guy. You know him.
Okay.
I just can't remember his name.
We'll try to find him.
I'm awful with names, by the way, so if you're listening. So he's pretty good too, you know. So yeah, those are the people that, you know, that I tend to listen to, just talk, you know, and learn from. No BS information, just give you the what is out there.
To the listeners, we should probably clarify between the interview with Nick and now the interview with Rafael. Prescript is not a cult.
No, it's not a cult.
It's not a cult. But it's continuing education for chiros, physical therapists, strength conditioning coaches. And we have like a coaching community with a Discord where we ask questions to each other when we have issues with clients that we haven't had experience addressing before. So it's a really great community for coaches. So if you are a coach, definitely like start taking Prescript level 1. You'll learn so much about biomechanics and anatomy and how to train people better.
Definitely.
But I guess I think that it felt like we've only been here 45 minutes, but I think it's been longer. So we should probably, I don't know what time it is.
2 hours.
Oh, are we? I don't even know if the phones are still alive recording. At least still audio. But can you talk real quick about training with Eric? Because you've been a coach for 20 years and you've been training yourself for longer. But like even you have a coach in Eric Bugera. He's part of the Prescript. He's one of the educators. No. Eric Bugera. Great follow.
Great guy, Eric. I love you.
But you want to talk about just like the benefits that you've gotten from having a coach, even though like yourself, you've been a coach for 20 years.
Same reason my clients hire me, just accountability, right? Not that I'm lazy to train, I'm not, but just having someone to respond to keep me motivated. Eric has helped me kind of understand the material of Prescript that is applied to my own training, you know, and with that, I have been able to see and understand how his brain works a little bit, and apply their knowledge to my clients.
Yeah.
So that's why he's been instrumental to me understanding how this whole process works, because I didn't learn that in school, right? I did a lot of courses as a trainer, but this was very different to me and how the approach that they have. So having a coach, I can't emphasize enough how good it is. It doesn't matter how well you know. Could I go to the gym, build my own training program? Yes, I could, But it's funny because when I record myself, to this day, you see me in the gym sometimes with the camera, but my camera is there is not just for me to create content, but it's also for me to send back to Eric, like, hey, this is the exercise I did today, right? And he can always pinpoint something that is going on, like, hey, do you pay attention to your left foot? Because right now I'm going to have a little bit of problem with my left foot. And then I send a simple video of me doing a seated leg curl. And then we realize that my dorsiflexion on the left wasn't great.
Yeah.
It's right there in front of me. I'm looking at my damn feet doing the exercise, but I'm not paying attention to it. You send to your coach, he looks, wait a second, So it's been good to do that process, excuse me, of educating me, making me better. And consequently, I can turn around... Excuse me.
Bless you.
I can turn around and apply that to my clients. So it's vital. I work in a gym in DC. It was my first job when I moved to DC, where Bryn Jaffrey, my mentor, was working. We had a fund there. They still have it. Mm-hmm. They give trainers $1,000 to go do any course they want to do.
Yeah.
And I was working there at a time, and when I got there, it was just a few trainers at the gym. Today, they have up to 20 trainers per gym. It was just myself and one more guy taking advantage of that. That's how sad it is. So when I tell that people are lazy, that people don't want to learn, they're so set in their ways. What we've been talking about here, coaches, don't be it. Go learn. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, and like for anyone that's going out and getting a personal trainer or coach, whether it's online or in the gym setting, ask that coach what the last continuing education they've done is. And they're like, the last one I did was like 4 years ago. Okay, might want to find a different coach. Like you want someone that's constantly growing as a coach. And then like with having a coach like Eric, even though your knowledge is really vast and you're like a professional in multiple different areas, like with different coaches, we all have slightly different aspects of training that we are stronger in. So like for me, even after pre-script level 1 and different corrective exercise courses I had taken, when I got out of Ranger and my back and my hips were really, really bad, I went to Dr. Kev, friend of the show, and was getting training from him as a physical therapist. And from him, I learned so much about like rehabbing low back injuries. Not that I was like an expert or anything before that, but like I had a decent amount of foundational information. But then the things that he showed me and different exercises that I had never thought to do before, like I just learned so much from that experience of having a coach like that.
So. It pays off a lot. I always had a coach. It's funny. I may not have a coach all the time, but I always sought out getting advice from other coaches. Like even when I was living in Washington DC, when I moved to America, right? I couldn't find a good Olympic weightlifting coach in England, right? But I was good at the sport, moved here and I flew. I went to see Mike Bergener, all the way out in California. I went to a lot of places. I went to train with some CrossFit gyms that had good Olympic training program out west, in San Diego area. I did all that, I didn't care. So to me, I saw as a way to learn, because I also understood that if I got better, my clients got better. The product that I could offer to them was a lot better than what I had previously without going through that process of re-educating myself. So I always did, like then I found out that Cara Heads, the Olympic former Olympian, has a great shack. Her gym is actually right next to DMV, very close,
Oh, it's that like right next to it?
No, right next to it. She's like behind of the other side of 495.
Yes,
Great coach, and learned a lot, training on her guidance, and it was great experience for me. And she reminds me a little bit about Eric because she's so fucking smart with Olympic weightlifting. She has an eye that she can pinpoint what's happening when the lift it's happening at 100 miles per hour. She can see everything in slow mo. It's the ability to break down information in such a simple terms that you can understand very well. Yeah. And that's what I like about working with Eric. He doesn't use big words, even though he's a great writer. He's a big brain guy, but he just talks to you like you're having a cup of coffee with him, like we're talking him, and point things for you in such a simple manner that you can easily understand and digest the information and take with you and move on and apply to your clients. And I have a joke with him because every time I train with someone, I had a client with me, a mentor. It was always like temporary, I would consume, I would suck all the energy, I would learn everything that I had to learn, and then when I felt like I wasn't learning anymore, not because the person was a bad coach, none of that. It's just I got a lot. I got everything that I had to get, right? And I keep joking with Eric. We've been in this relationship now for almost 4 years, and I'm like, and I was like, you're stuck with me now because I cannot get enough of it. We're still going on this relationship, and it's been good. My body changed drastically. I was very bored with the Olympic weightlifting training, even during COVID, right? Mm-hmm. I have a very good gym in my house. So a lot of the time that I do my videos that people think that I'm DMV, but sometimes I'm inside my garage, because everything is painted black. So people can tell where I am. Same, if you go to DMV, you know that I'm not in DMV, but if it's just someone watching from the outside, I'm in my home. So it was just, I got very bored with just long training sessions. I have to prep for so long. I was getting tired. I had the most annoying hip pain on my left side for the longest time. We're talking about prescript, right? There's not a code. I went to several PTs. Maybe I didn't go to the right PTs, but I went to several PTs. I went to a lot of a chiropractor, and nobody could help me. Nobody could actually tell me what was going on with my hip. So I would do just like the normal basic exercise they would give me. And I'm very good observing things. So my wife has chronic back problem. So we always have to stay on top of her hip health and, just to make sure that things stay normal. But I would make an appointment with her for her to go with me and me too. But that wasn't just to make company to her. It was to me to see how the person worked because, I have a hip problem on the left side. She has whatever problem. They're both treating us the same way, both give us the same exercise. So they always get my hair like, wait a second.
Well, that's a classic thing on social media. Do these two exercises for shoulder pain. It's like no diagnosis of like why your shoulder hurts or like what the issue is. Just do these external rotation exercises. It's just great. So like when I came across Prescript, I looked at Prescript and then I was learning about it. What is Jordan talking about shallow? I was like, this is interesting. Never heard about that. So it caught my attention, right? Mm-hmm. And then I saw Nick, and then talking to Nick, and then I used to have a problem with my right foot always turning when I squatted, but nobody told me the reason. But people said it was just an ankle mobility issue, and I used to do all the bend and destruction, stretch ever because this guy out west said everybody to do it, and I was doing like nothing's helping me because I had surgery when I used to play soccer. Anyhow, long story short, Nick comes up to me, so like, it's because of your hip, blah blah blah. Your hip is not moving. This, let's do this, and did a few training sessions with Nick, and then I was squatting like, I feel great. That's why when you talk about Prescript, why I constantly talking about them and I promote them, tell all the coaches to go do it because I saw the value. I saw the value that people could not help me, people professionals with medical degrees. But then I went there, one simple training session with Nick, things changed. And then I started working out with Eric, and then because I wanted to do more hypertrophy focused training. And then now I look a lot different than I did 4 years ago. So it's been awesome for sure. You guys got any other questions?
No. I mean, this has been awesome. Like, I've learned a lot.
We've been talking a lot
in here. No, but this is good. And like I've had questions, and then
you continue
as you continue to like go into the topic, like you answered the question that I had.
It's been good though talking to you guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I always talking to people, sharing my story, telling coaches to get out there, do your thing, don't be shy. Promote yourself.
Yeah.
And I said this today. I'm gonna say it again. Promote yourself. Don't be afraid of promoting yourself. To tell your clients what you do. Yeah. Talk to them. Let them know. You know, a niche. Don't tell you train anybody. Got a niche. Find your niche. You know. But thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. And next time we record, we'll have to have you back because I have so many other topics I wanted to go into with you. So
let's do it.
Definitely have to have you on again. But for listeners, where can they find you?
They can find me on my social media. I'm very active on Instagram, so it's Coach Rafael Aragao. So last name is Aragao, and Rafael with Rafael.
Yeah,
so awesome. Not PH. So they can follow me on LinkedIn. So it's funny. That's where I'm very active.
Okay.
Because that's where my clients are. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Rafael Aragao. It's my handle. I'm there. And I have a website too, www.coachrafaelaragao.com.
All right. And for the listeners, if you know any coaches or trainers or any busy executives in your friends and family circle, send them this podcast. Yeah, this is a great one for them.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us today at Weights and Wealth. And don't forget to apply today's lessons to live healthy and wealthy.
If this conversation will contribute to your fitness and financial gains, please share it with a friend or family member and give a 5-star review so more people can lift bigger weights and get bigger bank accounts.